Hey everyone, welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC, and today we have a guest, Sasha from Casually Comics.
Hi everyone.
We've been trying to get to know a lot of new people within the world of YouTube recently, and we decided to reach out and see what she wanted to talk about, and she picked Batman: The Mask of the Phantasm, which I have great memories of. Just go with it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Mask of the Phantom. What is it?
Phantasm.
So I did say it right.
You said phantasm. Like you never heard that word.
Like you hit the second part really hard.
Yeah, you put the wrong emphasis.
We already know I can't pronounce things. That's a running thing. Okay?
That's fair. Fine. Just go with it.
So this is a movie that came out, I believe, in 1997?
Three.
Even older than I thought. I'm so ready for this. I totally didn't just get done rewatching it.
Good. That's great.
Oh, okay. Sal, why don't you take point? I'm doing so well right now.
Sure. Well, before we do, Sasha, why don't you introduce yourself? Let everybody know who you are, where they can find you, and
wow,
then
it's way too late for me to be doing these shows. You're right. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, and then let us know why you picked Mask of the Phantasm.
All right, well, I'm Sasha. I'm from the channel Casually Comics. My motto is this, that we go wherever our whims take us. So we review, I'm saying like the royal we, it's just me. But I review just whatever old comics, new comics. Sometimes we follow old past controversies or new controversies. It's really random. So if you're into just random comic book stuff, I'm very close to having enough videos in my Hal Jordan section to make a hot mess Hal Jordan playlist. So I'm very excited about that. And as for Batman Mask of the Phantasm, it's because I have such strong memories of it, to the point where I imagined that as a child I saw it in the movie theater, even though I know that's not possible, but it's so ingrained. And then when I came back to it as an adult, there were just so many things about it that I think really perfectly encapsulate not just Batman in that DCAU, the DC animated universe, but just Batman in general. And there's just so many moments, from the composition of the music to the voice acting. I'm a really big fan of it. So. Yeah.
That's fair. I'm glad you picked this one, because for me, Mask of the Phantasm is the best Batman movie ever made. Out of all of them, any cinematic Batman, I'm very glad that they were forced to make it a theatrical run, even though it failed at the box office, so that I can say it's the best theatrical Batman of all time. But yeah, I love this movie so much. I actually got props for this episode. This is my signed poster.
Oh my god, poster. You too? Mine's not as cool. Mine's just my sad DVD.
Nice. But it's the same damn thing.
I did not get props. I'm sure I can find something.
Yeah, mine's signed by Andrea Romano, the voice
awesome.
director, Kevin Altieri, the sequence director, and of course Batman himself, Kevin Conroy.
I was about to say, if you don't have Kevin Conroy, throw that away.
Thankfully I've met him at least twice, so I'm happy to say I paid for one of those encounters. But yeah, I love this movie, and I'm thrilled to talk to anyone who wants to talk about this movie. So where do you want to start?
I was just gonna say real quick though, Sal. While I'm not a super fanatic, I do want to say when Dylan brought this up that you wanted to talk about it, Sal was immediately yes, I'm on that one. That'll be an easy one. I jumped on board because when I was a kid, I saw it in the theaters, just like Sal did. I think.
I did not see it in theaters because I didn't even know it was a thing. When I was a child, the movie had come out, and I was watching the cartoon. I remember seeing trailers for it. It came in theaters around Christmas time, and it failed within the first weekend, and they pulled it almost immediately. And my vivid memories of it are watching it on an oversized VHS cassette that came with a comic book that I read first and spoiled the movie for me.
See, for me, when I was a kid, I used to go, my grandmother would pick us up every Friday, get food, and bring us out to some kids' movie.
Right.
I don't remember any of those movies except Batman, Mask of the Phantasm. It's the only one I remember. And because, I had to be, if it came out in 93, holy crap, I had to be 10.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
There's only two movies I remember from my childhood of going to see them. It was that and then Ghostbusters 2. Oh. And I only remember Ghostbusters 2 because I got so scared of the painting coming to life that my parents had to walk me out of the theater.
That movie's needlessly intense for no good reason.
Yeah. The only two movies I remember from being a kid, and that one has a place in my heart. So when he brought it up, I'm like, yeah, I can rewatch that one. I like that movie.
Yeah.
At least I think I liked that movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No, I rewatch it regularly. Like, I own it, I bust it out, like, just on occasion. It's one of those movies that, for me, like, it always evokes a certain emotional response. Like, I get teary-eyed at the same parts, like, every time. Just every time, it's like a feeling. I want to experience it again and again.
Yeah. No, especially when anybody tells me they've never seen it. Then I'm like, oh, well, let's just get the Blu-ray. Because it was recently released on Blu-ray, I think like a few years ago.
Was
I
it?
like, oh, Blu-ray, got it.
Because the quality of the HBO Max one's actually kind of low, and I'm like, oh, it's 90s Batman.
Yeah,
I didn't know if there was a remaster at some point that
They
maybe
did
came out.
remaster it. It's gorgeous.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I'm controversial in that I don't need the remaster. Like, I'm fine with it looking a little like gritty and
Yeah.
like 90s, you know?
it should.
If you haven't seen it on HBO Max, it looks gritty and 90s.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't against it, but I'm like, oh yeah, this definitely is an old movie. Like,
For me, that's like Aliens. I remember Aliens vividly because I watched it on like a VHS tape that was watched 1,000 times. So I always assumed that like Aliens was dark and grainy and hard to
And
see.
faded.
Yeah, and just really washed out. And so one day I got the Blu-ray and I'm like, oh, I'm seeing things I've never seen before in this movie, and I've seen it 100 times. So it should be with Mask of the Phantasm. I mean, if only I could see it in theaters. They maybe did a Fathom event where they released it.
I could have sworn that was recent. 'Cause I remember
I
seeing
know.
like it was back, and
I thought I remember seeing it. That might be I might have slid. That might be one of those Berenstein Bears spelling situations. But I don't know. So, yeah,
or Mask of the Phantom.
yes, yeah. Some kind
I'm
of
gonna
gray
save
ghost.
my poor pronunciation on it. I'm just gonna save it somehow.
Please, yeah. But so if people are not familiar with what Mask of the Phantasm is, it is just it's an animated movie that is taking place between seasons in the animated series, and it uses the entire animated series voice cast. It adds people to that cast who that is to say, the people who worked on this movie loved so much they put them in new shows they were developing.
They took Dana Delaney. The Phantasm herself to be Lois Lane later on.
Oh,
Yeah.
was she?
Yeah, she's so great, by the way. She is my Lois Lane. No
She's
question.
amazing. And what's also amazing is that she gives such a different quality to those two characters,
Yep.
even though there's not too much. It's not like she does like a crazily different voice for either, but it's that she has this just modulation of the character behind it. I remember being blown away, like even when I was young, just like how much life that character has.
Yeah, that was one of those like, oh, we didn't mean to audition you. We just kind of cast you in this thing, but you have such range and such emotion. And yeah, from when she is Andrea Beaumont to when she is the Phantasm, or at the very least she is evoking that moment, when it's all kind of revealed, like there's this crack in her brain that's just she's so good. She's so good. And then there's Lois, where it's just totally different, but whatever. But by then they'd given up on making those movies any decent, but like right now they're like doing something. They're doing something, and I'm like, yes, and I'm all for it. We should just talk about the voices for a second, because they're all so great and they deserve it. First of all, Kevin Conroy gets double duty. He's playing Batman, seasoned veteran, and pre-year one Batman. Mm-hmm. So he's got to do like a younger voice.
That kind of more naivety like in it. It's just that this movie has my favorite Bruce Wayne scene of, I think, anything of life. And it is the scene where after he tries to stop those muggers and it goes badly, and then he's realizing that he has to like reconcile these two things that he wants, and he goes to his parents' grave and he's just there crying about how he wishes that, like he made this promise, but he didn't think he was going to be happy. And it's just so devastating. And it really highlights something that I find that sometimes is skipped, is that firstly, that Bruce Wayne is a person, that it's not like Batman's not the whole thing. Like Bruce Wayne is a person.
Yeah.
And also how much he's really given up, that there has been this sacrifice and that it's cost him a lot, and that it's something that he still wrestles with. And I feel like that scene just so perfectly encapsulates all of that.
Absolutely. No, that's that moment where as a kid you realize there's a difference, like that Bruce Wayne is pretending to be happy when he is playing Bruce Wayne, like that's a voice he's using, and it's just yeah. I don't think
that scene really stood out with me today when I was rewatching it, obviously.
Yeah.
I was watching through it, and I'm like, because the problem I was having is, since you guys are the super fans of the show, of the movie, I'm sitting here like, well, this is a really good scene, But are they going to care? Or are they going to be like, ha, you like the Bruce Wayne crying scene? Like,
you mean that scene where he's arguing with his dead parents and the only response he gets is lightning and thunder?
Yeah.
And this upward shot of the gravestone, like they're protesting him, like they're like, no. There are so many moments like that. The moment where he proposes to Andrea. And then the bats.
Love that. Yes, just as they kiss and the bats erupt, like
Destiny,
symbolically showing that he can't escape it. It's
Destiny
so good.
itself just pours out of the cave like, no, you don't. You made a vow.
It comes from below too, and it's just like it's dragging him down. I love it.
Yes, yeah. He tries to shield her from it. It's like, everything. There's a level of. I'd hesitate to say that in a Batman movie, bats erupting from a cave when he is trying to be normal is subtlety, but there is nothing like that in the DC animated universe.
No.
From there, I would almost say there are better Superman notwithstanding. Superman show, they're doing something else, and there are a few key moments in the Justice League animated series. But outside of but Batman never gets back to that, I feel like. We never get those moments again where it's just where the movie is just being a movie. It's not trying to start a franchise. It's not trying to build anything. It's just, here is Bruce. The characters are Bruce Wayne and Andrea Beaumont. Like, that's it. You know, like Joker almost takes a back seat to these regular people.
He does.
I forgot he was there. When he showed up in the movie, I'm like, Joker? Mark Hamill!
That's one of those things where when Joker shows up, it's just icing. It's not too much. It's just Joker shows up, you're like, oh, now it's a party.
Well, and that's exactly how I felt about it, because like I remember it from my childhood. You know, it was the Phantasm, it was Batman, the two of them going at it. I remember the reveal. I remember all of that.
Yeah.
And I did not even remember Joker's role in any of this. So I'm rewatching this movie today, and I'm like, okay, so there's the gangs, there's the parents, like she's doing that. Bruce Wayne trying to be happy but not being able to. I remember this very vaguely. I remember this storyline. And I look at the time, like, it's an hour and a half movie. It's a movie. It's not just a show. It's not trying to, like, cram it in there.
No.
And then Joker comes rolling in, like, all upset at everyone. And I'm just like, wow, what? Like, we got everyone for this movie. Like,
yeah, but they don't overcrowd it. There's no Arkham.
No.
There's no Robins, and they've already introduced Robin in the show. We also get some great stuff, some year one stuff, where Gordon refuses to spearhead the task force to take down Batman. So we get like an homage to year one where the GCPD fights and hunts down Batman. He's in the like construction site. He's got to hide from the cops, the chopper scene. Like there's also one of those times where for the first time in the Batman universe, the Batman animated universe, we see blood.
Yeah, I remember that as a kid.
Stakes.
It's like on his hand and he's looking at it.
All of a sudden, I remember it, like it just clicked, like, oh my gosh, he's really hurt.
Yeah.
Like, this is really serious. Like it just ramps it up to a whole other level. Like for some reason, like when you just see like the censored stuff that they're doing, it doesn't resonate quite the same way. But when you see it, they're bleeding. The other scene for me is when he kicks out one of the Joker's teeth. Later on.
Trail of blood, missing tooth, wipes it off his mouth. Real stakes. I was like, yes, this is that's the moment you're like, I think someone's gonna die in this fight, and it's just a lost tooth. I mean, there's an entire Suicide Squad movie that's predicated on Joker losing all of his teeth, so it's seemingly innocuous. But no, in that one moment, you're like, yeah.
It's funny because I didn't think that much about it as I'm watching through it, but you mentioned that like the blood, it didn't even dawn on me that wasn't in the normal show.
No.
And then when they're fighting and Joker's like, you're gonna kill us both, and Batman's just like.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes. And he's like holding on to him. And I'm like, that would be Batman. Batman wouldn't kill the Joker unless he went with him.
Yeah.
Like, and that is it. Like,
yeah. Well, he's just, I've had enough. I've reached the end. That moment is every moment is just so amazing. I mean, just everybody gets the chance to shine, including new characters. We get a whole new backstory of the mob, which also, it's one of those loving tributes where it's not like we're doing an origin story. We're building up this universe. They're like, here's the world before everything went zany, like before Penguins and Two-Faces. Like, here's the mob. Here's who ran Gotham before all this, and like, here's why Gotham was such a problem. And you got Abe Vigoda doing things, and he's great, and he's great. And it's like, what? You got Stacy Keach in there. You got Dick Miller. I'm trying to think of like there's the dude who plays Arthur Reeves. I think he was in Die Hard as the like sleazy dude. It doesn't matter. But he's great too.
I'm looking up the cast for you. It's okay.
Thank you.
Stop. So we're obviously just kind of bouncing all over
Yeah,
Sasha.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
What is? Well, that's fine. I mean, this is an old movie at this point. I didn't think we were going to do a rundown scene by scene.
We did spoil the whole end of
I know,
the
like,
movie.
issue a spoiler warning. It's kind of late.
Like 30 seconds into the episode.
This will be retrospective. That way
Yes.
no one can.
Right. Heavy spoilers for a 20-year-old movie.
What is one of your favorite scenes that we haven't touched on yet? Do you have
Yeah.
another one, Sasha? That you know.
Well, there's one thing I like in general in that in the 90s, especially, like they had to do a lot with censorship and just, lots of things they wanted to do, but like, couldn't really get there. And I find that this movie, because so many people die in it and they die pretty brutally, but it balances it so well that you get the impact of like, yes, they did die, but they don't have to show you anything. But it's very classily and cleverly done, so you don't feel cheated, like you don't feel like you missed anything, because they do. I think most, like the grave when he's crushed by the statue in the grave, and you just have that great sound effect, and like you don't need to see it, you just know. Somebody crushed a melon backstage, and
The death of Buzz Bronski is I was like, oh no, when they killed Chucky Saul in the beginning, when he drives off the overpass and crashes in it, and there's just the horn of his like dead body indenting the steering wheel. You don't even see it. You see none of that. You just know he's dead.
See, none of this clicked that it's not normal for the animated series to me, because I haven't seen the animated series in so long.
Yeah, no, the animated series, and it does things, but like there are subtle cues. Of course, if you're a big nerd like me, you have like that Batman animated series book that has like a little, like, I think it's a Bruce Timm drawn image of like all the things they weren't allowed to show, like strangulation, differentiation, sex, cursing, all that stuff.
Nocturna,
yeah. And like all of it's in this movie. Like they're all just kind of getting all of their stuff out there. Like there are a lot of broken windows in this movie. There's a lot of there's strangulation in this movie, or at the very least like attempted strangulation.
What was it rated at release? Was it PG?
It was PG.
Okay.
It was PG because like Sasha pointed out, it's done with class, it's done subtly. Like these guys are pros at conveying emotion or subtext without deliberately showing it, because they've got to skirt past the censors. I'll bet when Bullock discovers Gordon's body in the Jazzman episode, Bullock says, "Oh my God," which is one of the first times any character says or invokes the word God in an animated show for children. They do it later on more when like they go to WB, but they do it in this movie too, and that's the only other time I remember it in this animated universe, was that one episode and then here. But I'll bet they had to fight tooth and nail to do it in that one episode. In here, they still use it sparingly, and if you remember, it's that one moment when Batman finally finds his true face and Alfred sees Batman for the first time, and he staggers back and says, "My God." It's just that moment where you're like, if you're reading a comic book, they say that stuff all the time. Cartoon conveys that impact. It just sells it. You don't even see Batman.
Well, you get the infamous sign of the eyes too.
Yeah. That's true.
That eyeball scene is like the meme of Batman everywhere.
Right.
As soon as that scene rolled up, I'm like, the meme! It may have had a different effect on me than it had on you guys.
That's fair.
They also slip in some like subtle adult things, like with the swearing, or is supposed to be implied, like when he's first talking to Arthur at that event and he's just being totally awful to him.
Yes.
And he's like, "Here, take your napkin, where you can stick it." And it's just like, well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just trying to think.
Or even at the end where like the Joker's beating her with that sausage, I'm like, I see you.
Yeah, right? Right? It's supposed to be cute because he doesn't get the hatchet, but the Joker is beating a woman with a sausage, and you're kind of like, oh, that is a little much. I mean, Joker sexually harasses that robot no fewer than 2 times. To the point where he pulls a piece of her butt off and puts it in his pocket for later. What's that?
Why are you questioning? It's the Joker.
Yeah, no, but the Joker doesn't do that in any of the show. I know we're going to talk about it, but we shouldn't forget Shirley Walker's theme, because the soundtrack to this movie informs the show. Like,
Yes.
people love the theme to the Batman animated series. Of course, how could you not? But it's mostly the Danny Elfman theme. Shirley Walker adapts
Right.
it, but like it's mostly the Danny Elfman theme kind of like reimagined. And it wouldn't be until like the New Adventures of Batman and Robin or whatever that Shirley Walker would get to do an original theme. But you get that Batman theme with like the big chorus. Like she gets movie money to do this groundbreaking music that evoke every scene that Sasha just referenced has a Shirley Walker score that wouldn't make that scene half as good.
No, it accents it. It elevates all of the scenes where it's there, and it makes you remember it. Like I get chills for like the scene where he puts on the mask for the first time. It's just like every time goosebumps.
Every time I'm thinking about it now, and I'm like, oh yay.
It's funny because I like to listen to soundtracks and like more ambient music a lot of times when I'm doing a lot of work and stuff like that. And Mask of the Phantasm is on my soundtrack list.
Nice.
And it was funny because I don't remember the movie. I didn't remember it well enough to know where that music fit.
Yeah.
So having listened to the music a ton and then watching the movie again today, the music just hit a different note because the music's more ingrained with me at this point than the actual movie itself.
Yeah.
Because I just listened to it,
Absolutely. No,
No, go ahead. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, and that soundtrack, like, it evokes such emotion just without the scenes themselves, but punctuating those scenes, like, it just makes it that much. It just makes the movie that much more special. If like when you're comparing this to like Sub-Zero, for example, like it's just it's night and day. I like some of the elements of Sub-Zero, but like after Phantasm, when DC was rolling out with new animated pictures every year, I was like, I am so in. And each one, I was like, oh.
They just kind of get worse for a bit.
They get worse.
Like, remember this slowly.
They just, because Sub-Zero, I'm like, okay, all right. Robin, cool. Mr. Freeze, great. Story, lame.
Well, the problem with the DC movies after this one was this is a movie. They made a movie.
Yeah.
And after this, it was almost like DC was like, so what episode can you turn into a movie?
That's exactly
it feels
what that
like an
is.
elongated episode.
Yeah. That Mystery of the Batwoman movie was one of the most it was one of those like soul-crushing things I'd ever seen. I was like, first of all, you didn't even bring back the original voice for Penguin. Secondly, there's no good music in this episode, in this movie. Third, what is even happening? It's just because that's the thing is like everybody always whenever a DC puts out another movie, people go like, oh, this might be my favorite DC animated movie.
This is the best one.
Yeah, and I'm like, Phantasm beats it. Like Phantasm beats. There is not a single DC animated movie that I like more than Mask of the Phantasm. And I think it's one of those things where it's not even really in the same category. Like, Mask of the Phantasm is like a Warner Brothers film. And the rest of them are, like, DC projects. Like, the rest of them are trying to do something, But this is, like, something...
This felt like a Warner Brothers film because it opened up. It was funny because I was watching it with my buddy Houston at the very beginning of it.
Yeah.
It opens up with WB and the Looney Tunes there.
Yeah.
Like that was the 90s Warner Brothers movie kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it
feels big.
Right.
Like you can it just feels different than just an adaptation or like just an animated film. It doesn't feel like direct to DVD. Like that dates me so much, but like that feeling it's just like
direct to VHS.
Yeah.
Whenever somebody says direct to DVD or direct to VHS, I just remember those Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen detective movies and going into like the local like Walmart and just seeing them on the walls. Like, how many adventures are these kids going on?
Their parents are really negligent at this point. But,
if you ever had any of those, which I did, they would have these horrible blooper reels at the end, but like not blooper reels where like, oh, it's cute, but like actual kid frustration blooper reels. I was like, why did they leave these in?
Right, like that is traumatizing. Don't let them.
You have an 8-year-old trying to act. That they're not finding it this funny. Like,
yeah, we're laughing at them, not with them. This isn't fun anymore. Yeah. So casting's great, music's phenomenal.
I will say, because I didn't mention when he did the voice acting, but the Kevin Conroy as Batman and even Mark Hamill as Joker.
As Joker, yeah. We didn't even talk about Mark.
Well, it's funny because this movie now is 18 years old? No, 28 years old, right?
Yeah.
Wow, we're old. Just dated us all hard. I saw it in the theaters. Anyway. It was funny because they're still doing those roles to this day.
Right.
They still pop up. And like hearing that Kevin Conroy and now 60-something-year-old Kevin Conroy, I can hear the age.
That's not
Yeah, no.
doing. Yeah.
They're at their peak here. Like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just so in peak form just in this movie.
Yeah, no, Joker's never had better laughter than in this one. He's really going for it. He going for it in every episode, but like, it's like this is his swan song.
Yeah.
Everybody is just at the top of their game, and some of them only get a few minutes to shine. Like I'm a Gordon.
Alfred didn't get a lot.
Alfred didn't get much, but he still gets that emotional moment at the end where he talks about vengeance, and it's like,
Yeah.
good for you, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. That's one of those names. I'm like, that's in there. But
Is that his name?
his
Hold
name
on,
is
I'm looking that
Ephraim
up.
Yeah.
Zimbalist Jr.
Oh wow, yeah, okay.
But he is so great. He's like, when he passed away, I'm like, well, no one will ever be Alfred again. That's the end of that. But he gets a moment. Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon gets a couple of fun moments. Even Bullock gets a couple of moments to shine where, you know, you're not looking at it like it's the end of the show, because obviously they kept the show going and they kept all the voice actors until, you know, they couldn't anymore. But, you know, everybody is just at the top of their game. Even the newcomers are bringing something new to the table and adding to something that is wholly unique and will never, we know 28 years later will never come again. Like they've never yet been able to crack it.
It's like they all sat around and said, if we're gonna do this, if we're gonna make a Batman movie, animated movie, you have to bring our A game to this movie.
Why? Like, it's so funny to me. Like, the people who made Tiny Toon Adventures are like, we gotta really get this thing right, and it's doing this thing that, like,
Tiny Toon Adventures is a seminal piece of history, Sal.
yeah. How come no one ever references it? How come it
remember
never survived after its time? Which,
Don't
by the way,
ruin Tiny Toon Adventures for me.
listen to me. Tiny Toon Adventures.
Sasha,
is
are you on my side? Do you
incredible.
like Tiny Toon Adventures?
I cannot say that I've watched a lot of Tiny Toon Adventures.
I watched a lot of Tiny Toon Adventures, and I'm still an Animaniacs kid, but like I will grant you, Tiny Toon Adventures has its moments. That being said, this crew, like, this movie has so much going against it on paper, where it's like, okay, so the guys who made this show are going to write an original Batman movie, and it's going to make up his origins, and it's going to make it it's going to be a love story, and it's not going to even reference Catwoman. Like,
That I found odd.
what?
I did find that odd.
Oh, I didn't
Because
find it odd.
My
That's
brother
what's so
came over in
weird.
the middle of my brother came over in the middle of watching it, and I said, like, I forgot Batman actually had relationships at some point. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's always chasing Catwoman. Like,
Yeah, but this one...
I personally was glad for the lack of
me too.
Catwoman.
Me
I
too,
like
yeah.
showcasing the other like interests, and I think Andrea adds so much to that tapestry. I know they've tried to bring her in like now with like that Tom King.
Yes, the
thing.
Batcat book.
It's not quite the same, but
Well,
like,
because there's no depth. You know,
Yeah.
they want to reference it, but there's no context outside of that movie and
that
maybe
movie that you saw that she was in. Here she is.
well, it's like them trying to bring Red X back. It's like he was like a character that showed up for like 5 episodes.
he's cemented in that show. There's no other context for him. Just like
Right,
Andrea.
but now he's here, and we all have to think everyone wore the mask. But the same thing with her, Andrea, because I saw her in the Tom King book, and I'm like, does anyone except us old farts remember this character? Like,
Well, and even if they don't, like, is it giving you a fair and honest portrayal of this character? And it's like, in that Batcat book, they're just saying that the movie happened. Like, they're just treating it like the movie happened, which is cool, but also that movie only, I think, works in that universe.
It does this wonderful paralleling of her and Bruce and the path that they go on, and makes that clear statement and differentiation as to why he's different, as to why he's not just somebody out there seeking vengeance while she is. And it really sets it up quite clearly that she, despite everything that's happened to her and it's sad, she's selfish. And she's like, this is all I have. I only have vengeance. Whereas he's working to protect, you know, Gotham through this like crippling survivor's guilt that he can't deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean,
he was at tears at a grave that to his parents that he made a promise to after they passed.
Right.
It's not like he made the promise when they were alive. It's like, I made this promise to my dead parents, and now I'm gonna break it.
well,
Like, I'm just saying the survivor's guilt that she's talking about.
Yeah.
Like, that's how bad it is. Like,
The paralleling between those two characters and how they are both, like, they end up on two sides of the same coin. I mean, she loses her parents. She feels responsible. They both talk to their graves. They both trained secretly. They both maintained double lives. They both became bemasked, becaped vigilantes. One fights selflessly. The other one kills people when she's not like taking redundant plane trips back to hide that she wasn't there. That threw me. I'm like, she's on a plane. So did she take like a boat to where she needed to go from again to establish that alibi? I mean, it just feels like there's a lot of okay.
There's a lot of hoops she's going through, so you don't think she's this person.
Yeah, and then when they made the action figure, they package it with her without the Phantasm costume on. I'm like, well, you've just ruined the whole movie with your marketing, damn it. If you pay attention to that sort of thing when you're a child, like maybe some of us did, I don't know. Where I'm like, who's the redhead? Oh, no. I didn't even see this movie yet. By the way, but that movie does such a good job of being like a movie that you're engaged and you're gripped and you forget. Like, you forget there's no Catwoman. You forget that there's no other villains in this movie. You're not like, oh, gangsters, Two-Face. Like, there's no moment where you're like disappointed. First of all, there's no moment to think about that. Secondly, there's no fluff for you to latch on to anything else. It's just what you have. Like, Bullock is a jerk. Moving on. Like, he'll lead the task force that hunts down Batman. Gordon won't. So he lets them, but he won't obstruct them. Like, it all works, and they all get like little moments, and they all just contribute to the one story.
It's one of those movies where all the scenes need to be there.
Yeah.
Like, all the scenes need to be there and inform each other. Like, if you cut something, it wouldn't make sense or would be a weaker story. And it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have that fluff. So it's very strong. And it feels... when I was gonna say it feels long, I don't mean that in like watching a 70s movie, like, oh god, this is going on forever. But
another
like
car chase.
in the sense that it feels full. Like, it feels like there's a lot going on and a lot happening.
Yeah, especially when you think about it and you're like, oh, what happens in this movie? Bruce Wayne falls in love, he gets his heart broken, and then he falls in love again, and he gets his heart broken again by the same person. Like, that's the movie. Oh, and Joker actually gets to kill people in this one. Like, that's the other takeaway, is that when he kills Valestra.
It's also, don't make the Joker mad.
Oh my
Don't portray
God.
the Joker.
I love that scene where like he's just so close to snapping and then like pulls it back, but you know that he's gone too far. Like, that guy's dead.
Oh,
like,
that guy's dead. Yeah. You're in the wrong Gotham, pal. Your Gotham is long over. It's his town now. Ugh.
And even to the fact that exchange takes place in like the decaying like setup that they had to the future of Gotham is so symbolic and so great. And
oh my God.
I love that Batman and Joker also have their fight there over this like miniaturized version of what's supposed to be the future Gotham, and they're literally fighting over it. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Oh, and they both destroy it. Like, their fight will destroy Gotham. It's like telegraphing what's gonna, like, the inevitability of their conflict, which is like, you guys know how to make a movie. But like I said, also, like, it's a wholly original story. It's not like, oh, well, I've seen The Long Halloween. I've read The Long Halloween. I've read Killing Joke, so I know how this is going to end. Oh, no, they changed the ending, so now I'm disappointed and confused. Like,
or, oh no, they added a beginning and now
it's ruined.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I think the ending's not the problem with Killing Joke, Sal.
There's about like 97 problems with Killing Joke. The first of which is that they didn't record the comic book while they were shooting this movie. Like that, because these guys are nerds. They love Killing Joke. They're like, I got Kevin Conroy, I got Mark Hamill in the booth. Hey guys, I'm going to pay you for your lunch break. Just read. Here's 2 copies of Killing Joke. Just read Killing Joke in the booth. I'll just hang on to it. And then can you imagine? It'd be like a Star Wars holiday special, the circulation of this tape of Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill just reading the Killing Joke in their prime. It's like, you waited too long. My Killing Joke is Phantasm. Like, their great conflict is never better than it is in this. When he puts together at the end who Batman is. Mm-hmm. At least that's my interpretation. Sasha, I'd love to hear your opinion. Benny too, I guess. But like, my point.
Oh, thanks.
That moment where she's got Joker.
I'm here too.
Yeah, but she's got Joker at her mercy, and they talk to each, Bruce and Andrea talk to each other, and he's just given up on the pretense, and he looks at him, like Joker looks at him with this like look of reason, and then laugh, and his best laugh is there.
The best laugh when he just collapses to his knees laughing.
Yeah, I think that's him like figuring it all out, and also like realizing that they're going to die now, and it's like,
I've always personally had the headcanon that the Joker does know and doesn't care.
That's exactly what I've always thought. The exact same thing.
I like that in the comics, but for this movie, that's the thing about this movie is it gets to be something else. It gets to do its own thing. Like Batman gets the plans for the Batmobile from seeing it at the future town, and it's like, okay, I guess we could do that. Like, I don't care. I'm not like mad that he didn't invent it. He just buys it from whatever designer was there. But
can you imagine that designer too? Like he buys it and wait, that's my car. Wait,
Yeah,
that's the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Wait, who? Receipts. Who bought that?
Right. Oh no, Bruce Wayne disappeared that guy. That guy works for LexCorp in Metropolis now.
I mean, we've been ranting. Sal, I've never seen Sal light up this much, other than maybe Spider-Man 2. But
I like Spider-Man 2. Not as much as this, though. Spider-Man 2, I could do 2 different videos. One where I'm like, this movie's amazing, and one where this movie is really weird and creepy. And with Phantasm, I'm just like, it's great. I guess the only ding I can give it is that like it ruined me on Batman movies because like
Well, I can give it a ding
one
for that really weird, like, end credit song choice. With,
That's
like, the
Tia
sexy
Carrera's
saxophone.
only song.
I know it's Tia Carrera, but why is there so much, like, sultry gas?
Because she's trying. She's doing something.
It's Tia Carrera?
It's Tia Carrera.
Yeah,
from Wayne's World. She wants to start a music career, and, she got to be on the soundtrack for this new movie that, like, 4 people saw in the theaters.
Yeah, when I was looking up the voice actors, budget was $6 million. It made 5.8.
Yeah, that is devastatingly low.
Yeah, that's not
that's
good.
Like the Suicide Squad numbers. But
that movie is a seminal classic.
Yeah. Oh, Sasha is on point. The Tia Carrera song is not. It does not work.
It's like also because you've had all that amazing music from the movie, and then you just go into like this tonal shift where it's like, did I just watch like an 80s like romance comedy?
Right, like it's borderline pornographic. Like it's almost got that porno like saxophone music from like a parody. I don't know. It's when you learn about Tia Carrera, like I apparently did, and like want to see her succeed because she loves music so much, I'm like, I forgive it, but I always turn it off. Like
if we're all picking out ding moments, I'd say
please.
my only one was when they kind of reveal that she's still alive.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Honestly, I kind of wish they just closed the book on it. You know what I mean?
That's fair. But there's that moment. Okay, so her emo moment where she's on the pier. Or at the boat, and she's got the veil, and it's like she's mourning herself or whatever. All right,
and he's like, I am alone.
I'm like, oh, shut up! This is all your fault. This whole thing is your fault.
That's what I'm saying. Like that moment for me, if she had just been gone, even if they just left the necklace,
the locket needs to be there.
The locket's fine. Where Batman's like, oh. But then her additional scene where it confirms, she is alive and she's doing that on the boat. Was that a funeral boat? Like what?
No, it's just she's wearing it. No, it was a party boat for the New Year's or something. Because there's that guy wearing the crown. I don't know. Maybe it's Jughead like years later, but like it's
the weirdest crossover ever.
Yeah, but that moment where he finds that locket and the swell of Shirley Walker's theme, and the tears go down his cheek because he knows it's over. He knows that, like, because now it's worse. Now he knows she's there and he can never be with her. And you're like, oh,
right. And I liked that scene. Like, that was great. If I had to add, and this is just because we're nitpicking Tia Carrera's song, and I got to pick something. And for me, it should have just ended right there. It shouldn't have gone to the boat.
No, because you ditch the boat, but you still need that one moment at the end where she says
she's alone.
Where it's the Batman moment where he's on the gargoyle. And he has his eyes closed.
Yeah.
And then
but you could have gone to that.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
You're right.
I feel like the whole point of the boat scene was to just give a little break between those two scenes.
Yeah.
So is it like he's like, lock it? Oh.
I feel like it's also to establish that I feel like there were potentially maybe we can bring her back. Like
That's exactly
she's
what they're
there. Like guys, we can bring her back.
Yeah,
And Tom King did it 28 years later.
They brought her back in that epilogue episode of Justice League.
Batman Beyond.
In Batman Beyond, which is horrible.
I don't like that episode.
Oh yeah, she was like old,
Yeah,
like
she's
really old.
Yeah, she becomes
in the outfit.
She becomes an assassin for hire. Thanks.
I just that whole epilogue, like I didn't appreciate any of the things it did. It was
Right.
all like, and he's like biologically related to him. Like, why? Why?
I didn't necessarily complain when I first saw it. I was just kind of like, is this a Batman Beyond episode? Isn't this the end of Justice League? Because every episode that Justice League ended, you're like, is this the last one? Are they canceling the show? Because they basically did. And but I loved it until you think about it for a minute and you're like, no, what? You don't need that. Plus, what?
Because I did not like that epilogue at all.
He's gonna marry Dana. No, Max.
I know.
You gotta marry Max. Dana, she's
the
dead
fact that
weight.
I learned like behind the scenes that they were like, oh, we were gonna do it, but then we didn't. I was like, I'm so angry. Right
Yeah,
now.
like what? I don't remember what episode they did like an audio commentary for where they were like, this is the scene where he's supposed to kiss her, and I'm like, no. That's Batman Beyond. We could talk about Return of the Joker after this one.
I like Return of the Joker.
I love Return of the Joker. I owned that soundtrack when I was a kid. Like I was like when I had a little like iPod, I was like, I'm gonna buy like my first like little
Nice.
thing. And I got that.
That's a solid soundtrack.
If we can convince Sasha to come back, we will do a Return to the Joker episode.
Yeah.
But I think we've pretty much run the whole entire excitement of Mask of the Phantasm.
Right, Sasha. What are some points that you didn't like? Some
That's
bites
what I was gonna say.
that you didn't get to say.
What did you get to say? Because Sal just was
sorry.
off.
I'm sorry. I like this movie, and Sasha, you gave me an opportunity.
What are points you wanted to
I think
bring
the
up?
only thing I would say is that it's worth watching because I know that it's older now. Like it doesn't feel old to me, but like I know that it is an older piece out there, and especially with like animation, I really think the animation holds up. But like sometimes people like they are wary of the older material or they think it's going to be a hard entry point. They're not connected to it, but like this is such a wonderful Batman story that I think it's worth experiencing, even if it's just to see a different portrayal of Batman, because Batman is different here than he is other places, and also a portrayal of Bruce Wayne, which I'm really passionate about because I'm one of those like let Bruce be Bruce people.
Yeah. This is the Citizen Kane of Batman movies. And
Oh no!
well, in more ways than one. Not just because it's the best Batman movie ever made, but also because it like feels like Citizen Kane. Where you're watching like Charles Foster Kane like come apart towards the end, like because he was in love with this woman that he can never be with, and I'm like, oh, that's basically what this movie is.
I feel like that's a really good comparison also because like with Citizen Kane, it pioneers all of these techniques that are now commonplace.
Yes.
And so you watch it and you're like, oh, whatever, why is this a big deal? And it's like, no, back in the day, like the multiple story point thing was new, like the mirrored hallway is new, like the depth of focus on the camera is new, like everything is new. So it's like it pioneers all these things. The same with this movie, like some of the things in it are now just commonplace.
Right.
And you don't think about it, but it's like, no, this was the first time.
Yeah, this is the first time, and I want this to be most people's first exposure to Batman. Like, I think the animated series is a perfect entry point for Batman. The problem is it will then spoil you on Batman Forever. Not to make a joke about the title Batman Forever, which is also a terrible movie, but like this portrayal is going to ruin you on Batman because it's so good.
It's true though. It's like it's always what I come back to.
Yeah.
It's like it is the benchmark and everything else is measured against, basically.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because also I was just thinking about how the Phantasm, amazing design, amazing idea, and it's just a ripoff of that stupid Reaper character from Year 2, which is one of the worst Batman books ever, and they never use it. Like he's the Phantasm.
Batman Year 2?
Oh God.
Yeah, there is.
There's a Year 2, and then there's a sequel to Year 2. They're both awful, but you should read them.
Oh, I have read this. I think I blocked it out of my memory.
Todd McFarlane draws some of it, or all of it. I don't remember, but you get to see McFarlane capes. That's pretty sweet.
Oh, yeah, that is the Reaper character. What?
Right? Isn't it just Reaper? And it's like, who cares? You don't need Reaper. He sucks. Phantasm. That's where it's at. And I will say, you know, in defense of that Batcat book, Clayman's Phantasm does look pretty dope.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. The art's amazing.
The art is, it is great. It's just like, oh, but like, does anyone care? Does anyone remember this? So yeah.
I keep forgetting that book comes out.
It just came out this week.
That's what I keep forgetting. Like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I have it like pre-ordered, so I just get an email that's like it's out. I'm like, oh, good, cool, good to know. But yeah, I will. Thank you so much for getting us to talk about this movie, Benny. What are some of your favorite moments or bits and bites you wanted to mention about this?
I mean, I brought him up mostly in here. I love the scene with him crying in front of the tombstone, the angles for that whole thing.
Yeah.
I did love Batman fighting against Joker, but feeling like there was stakes to it.
Right.
Like something could actually happen. I knew there wouldn't, wasn't going to be, but you definitely have a feeling something is going to go wrong here. There's been blood, there's been injuries, there's been serious situations, and we could imply things that we don't want to imply. And then, with the comment of like, you're going to kill us both, well, whatever it takes, like that kind of a thing. I really did enjoy that conflict. And I also love the idea of it not being Catwoman, to kind of jump on what you were saying, Sasha. Like, he always has Catwoman. There are other women out there that Bruce Wayne is willing to date. Like,
yeah.
I'm actually one of those people who's like, bring back Silver St. Cloud.
I think the three of us here are the only people that remember Silver St. Cloud.
Yeah, I am not.
Is she still in a hot air balloon, just sailing off?
Is she still dead from like that one series?
Yeah, did Onomatopoeia kill her?
Yes, on panel.
Yeah. Yeah,
it was rough.
Yeah, it was rough. They're never gonna finish.
No.
They're just gonna pretend that, you know what? No one's gonna argue. No one's gonna be like, "Hey, justice for cacophony." Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, for anybody stuck around to the ending here, I'll go. Sasha, where can they find you? Let's go over that again real quick.
Yeah.
They can find me on YouTube. It's the best place to find me because I'm actually active in posting there. I forget all my social medias exist. So I am Casually Comics at YouTube, and you can find me there, and I'm always posting random stuff. So come hang out.
Awesome. All right, and you're finding this on Absolutely Marvel in DC, the channel that Sal and I run here with a bunch of our friends, including Sasha. So make sure you stick around, check out all the other videos here, and go check out her channel. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Awkward ending here because I'm getting sleepy.
Yeah.
It's late. That's my bedtime.
It's later here, man.
Hey, quiet you.